Shocking, rich Chinese woman mocks black waiter until he speaks Chinese back at 3 a.m. The air was thick with tension as the clock struck 3, the bar nearly empty, save for one striking figure, an elegant Chinese woman draped in designer silk, her laughter echoing like a crack of thunder in the lonely night. She sat at a table, glass of expensive wine in hand, while a weary young black waiter hovered nearby, his face a mask of confusion mixed with a flicker of defiance. Her voice, sharp and mocking, cut through the silence. "What's the matter? Can't you even understand me?" She spat, giggling as her friends joined in, eyes glinting with mischief, but the darkness outside was only a reflection of the shadows hiding in that bar. Rumors whispered of a curse that loomed over the establishment, a secret kept by the staff that twisted their mouths into grimaces when they were asked to talk about it. Had it cloaked the building in a veil of strange happenings? The lights flickered ominously as if the entire place held its breath, waiting for something, or someone, to break the spell. The air was electric with unspoken fears, and that was before the Real storm began. He felt a tightness in his chest. As the waitress smirked, he fought hard to keep his composure. People outside the bar wandered by, glassy-eyed, unaware of the tension brewing inside, oblivious to the charged energy that prickled at his skin. Then, with a flash of something unrecognizable in his eyes, he gathered himself, straightening up like a soldier ready for battle. To the surprise of all, he responded, every syllable clear as day. "Actually, I do speak Chinese," he said, the words flowing from his lips with a confidence that sent a hushed ripple through the crowd. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." "Now let's continue." She froze, momentarily taken aback, and the laughter died in her throat. Gasps filled the room as the energy shifted, the rich velvet air suddenly colder, more sinister. Could it be? Did he know the hidden language of spirits? Suddenly, the room felt like a scene from a shadowy tale, a secret pact between the living and the dead, woven into the very fabric of that establishment. Just then, a silence blanketed the room. Her hostile facade gave way to wide-eyed disbelief, and the waiter's hand trembled slightly as he looked around the bar, wondering if the walls were listening. A ghostly shudder swept past, and it was hard to tell where the chill came from. Was it the curse of the bar, or was it the electric thrill of confrontation? Then, with every person holding their breath, he drew in a sharp breath, about to unleash something more than just words. And with the urgency of a storm brewing just beyond the window, the question loomed over everyone: what would happen next? Would they unlock a door to a world they never knew existed, or tear open the fabric of something they couldn't control? Whatever lay ahead, one thing was for certain: the night was far from over. The bar was plunged into an eerie silence, the kind that crawls under your skin and sits heavy in your chest. The waiter's sharp declaration left them unmoored, hovering at the edge of a precipice. The woman stared, her mouth moving as if preparing a response, but no words emerged. Instead, her friends exchanged glances, eyes darting between disbelief and growing tension. The waitress, a slight figure in the corner, dropped a tray she'd been holding, and it clanged to the floor with a sound far too loud for the moment. Shrill gasps ricocheted around the room. Some patrons turned from the bar, their faces painted with a mix of shock and curiosity. The atmosphere hung heavy, saturated with something primal: fear? Fascination? Perhaps the scent of buried truths clawing to escape. The waiter felt the grip of shadows encircle him, but for the first time, it wasn't fear that drove him. It was something deeper, a stirring from within, like a long-forgotten memory suddenly awakening. He straightened up, the trembling in his hand fading as he locked eyes with her. "I can hear you," he continued, his voice smoother, but tinged with defiance. "Your mockery won't silence me." The woman's expression morphed, a flicker of panic entangled with a glimmer of anger. She wasn't expecting pushback, not here, not now. Usually, she held all the power, cloaked in her luxury and privilege. What do you think you know? She shot back, words sharp as glass, slicing through the tension. You're just a what? He interjected, having the audacity to lean in closer, as if inviting the confrontation. The crowd leaned in with him, breathless from the unfolding drama. Suddenly, the bar's lights flickered again, and a low hum resonated through the floors, like the rumble of a distant storm. The laughter that once filled the room felt distant, phantoms haunting the walls. People exchanged nervous glances, their curiosity mingling with dread. There were those who knew the rumors, old stories of spirits trapped within the building, cursed to witness the arrogance and prejudice of those who summoned them, and then it happened. The shadows twisted as a figure emerged from behind the bar, an elderly man, his clothes tattered yet dignified. His presence silenced even the most skeptical of minds. What you have awakened, he spoke, voice low and gravelly, is beyond your understanding. Everyone fell still. The rich woman's poise faltered as she recoiled slightly. She opened her mouth to protest, but no sound came out. The weight of his words hung in the air, tangible, ominous. The waiter realized he was at a crossroads. A moment of reckoning filled with untold stories, destinies shifting like the flickering lights. The old man's gaze, filled with the weight of generations, settled on him. You hold the power to change the course of this night, or doom it. What are you talking about? The woman regained her composure, her bravado returning, but her voice trembled. I don't believe in ghost stories. Believe it or not, the old man warned, the curse is real. And it feasts on pride. As if on cue, the atmosphere darkened further, shadows creeping closer, suffocating. The bartender glanced nervously between them, the fear palpable. The tension suddenly felt charged, like static before a lightning strike. The waiter, emboldened, took a step forward. Maybe it's time we face whatever this is, he said, voice trembling but fierce. Time to confront the darkness instead of hiding behind it. And in that moment, an unearthly howl pierced the air. Glass shattered behind the bar, sending shards flying, a cacophony breaking the fragile tension. The crowd gasped, eyes wide with terror. Are you ready? The old man asked, his voice barely cutting through the chaos. The answer hung in the air like the charged atmosphere of a brewing storm. Moments ticked like a countdown. They were all teetering on the brink of a revelation that could unravel everything they knew if they dared to leap. Would they confront the darkness that lay hidden, or would they let it consume them whole? The answer danced on the lips of silence, waiting for a spark to ignite it. The howl faded, but the echo of terror surged through the room, mingling with the shattering glass that now lay like confetti on the bar floor. Heartbeats thundered, each echoing pulse a reminder of their fragility. The bar's dim lights flickered again, casting erratic shadows over the crowd. The old man's eyes, deep as ancient wells, surveyed the patrons with a knowing weight. He seemed untouchable, yet somehow if you looked close enough, an unseen tension coursed through him, almost palpable against the growing dread around them. The woman found her voice, though it wavered on the edge of panic. This is ridiculous. She laughed, but it was a hollow sound. You're all just having a laugh at my expense. Her bravado, once proud, now sounded brittle, like ice ready to crack, but the whispers of disbelief swept through the others like gusts of wind, ripping at her bravado. We're not joking, a man with wide eyes murmured, gripping his drink like a lifeline. People have gone missing around here. The old man nodded slowly, his gaze unbroken. You cannot deny what is rising from the depths tonight, he said, his voice carrying the weight of unspoken histories, invoking a shiver among the collective crowd. The past does not forget when fed by pride. The waiter stood rooted to the spot, the room swirling with uncertainty. Every instinct screamed at him to run, yet something within tugged him forward. What do we need to do? His question trembled into the charged air, cutting through the tension. Face the truth, the old man replied, his posture still unyielding. You are bonded by folly and arrogance. The curse has taken notice. The woman scowled, her eyes flashing with indignation. We are not cursed. You're just trying to scare us. Disbelief battled fear in her chest, and she refused to let it win. But the innards of the room began to murmur secrets of their own. The bar suddenly dropped in temperature, breath visible in faint puffs as they exchanged terrified glances. The glass shards still glittered, tiny mirrors reflecting the chaos brewing in their hearts. Curse or no curse, I'm going. She snapped, spinning on her heel, but the moment she did, the lights cut out entirely. Darkness swallowed the bar whole, but not before she could feel a pressure like a weight on her chest, forcing her to a halt. The silence that fell was thick, tension coiling tightly among them. Every second felt stretched, the darkness alive with expectancy. Then, the low hum from before returned, thrumming through their bones, reverberating beneath their skin. Suddenly, the sound erupted into a screeching crescendo, the lights flickering erratically before blinking back on, revealing the room transformed. All 7 patrons, including the waiter, stood frozen. Imprinted on their faces was fear and confusion. The bar wasn't the same. It tripped the laws of reality. Everything you think you know is about to unravel, the old man said slowly, his voice a whisper, urging them to brace for what was to come. A figure emerged from the shadows, an outline twisted, almost human but distended and wrong, its features shrouded in darkness. It moved unnaturally, gliding toward them, making the floor creak beneath an unseen weight. As the crowd gasped, the woman found her voice again, trembling with defiance. Who are you? The figure paused, its whisper a guttural rasp that scraped against their sanity. I am the reckoning, and you have called me. The air thickened, each breath weighted with impending revelation as the darkness clawed at the edges of their sanity. The waiter felt his heart hammering. Who had they awakened? What was this reckoning? With every step they took toward the truth, could they hold on to their sanity, or were they destined to be lost in the shadows? Questions hung in the air, heavy and potent, as the figure moved closer, wrapping around their hearts to reveal what lay in wait. The figure's presence darkened the very air they breathed, as if night had taken a tangible form. It loomed, its elongated arms swaying like dead branches in a storm, the whispers laced with echoes of past horrors, pinching at their hearts with an iron grip. The woman's defiance began to melt into dread. She backed away, eyes darting frantically, searching for an exit, but the shadows stretched behind her, swallowing any chance of escape. What do you want from us? Her voice faltered, barely a whisper, but it carried the weight of collective fear. The old man stepped forward, as if sensing the urgency to confront the figure. You've brought this upon yourselves, he said, his voice steady, but a tremor betrayed his resolve. You've ignored the threads of history, now they weave your fate. A deafening silence filled the space. All eyes flitted between the figure, the old man, and each other, thoughts spiraling as the reality of the situation sank in. I didn't ask for this. The man with wide eyes shouted suddenly, panic rippling through the crowd. None of us did. We were just having fun. The figure, hearing his words, twisted its head unnaturally, tilting as if weighing the man's intent. The air crackled, and the lights flickered again, its glow revealing a glimpse of a face hollow and haunting, carved from nightmares. I am the reckoning of your sins, it rasped, the sound like stone grinding against stone. Each one of you carries a weight heavier than you know. Tonight, it must be borne. Sweat beaded on the waiter's brow, each droplet a testament to rising anxiety. What sins? He asked, his voice a mixture of desperation and curiosity. We've done nothing. Not in your eyes, it hissed, almost gleeful, each syllable served as a reminder that innocence can be a mask. But the echoes of your laughter? They blind you to the truths you bury. The woman, shaking, found her voice again. You can't just silence. The figure thundered, sending a shock through the room. It surged forward, closing the distance, the air thick with dread. Fools! You don't understand yet. The missing souls, their cries, you are the embodiment of their rage, their retribution. The shadows writhed around them, the whispers deafening. Memories flooded back the parties they had thrown, the nights when laughter had silenced the warnings of those who had vanished. Each one of them played a part in a disturbing reality they tried to forget. I didn't know, the man stammered, falling to his knees. I didn't realize we were hurting anyone. The figure lingered above him, eyes glinting with a grisly kind of satisfaction. Ignorance is a choice, young man. The question is, are you prepared to face the reckoning? The bar's temperature dropped further, breath visible in white puffs, as the weight of the moment grew suffocating. They looked around, their eyes filled with despair. The stakes were rising. The old man raised a gnarled hand, a plea. Let us not succumb to blind fear. We can still make amends. Amends? The figure echoed, its tone mockingly light. You think this is about atonement? No, this is a reckoning. The dance has just begun, and you will all take part. As it raised its arms, shadows pulled tight around them, each person ensnared in darkness. The bartender dropped his bottle, glass shattering on the floor, and the echoes of horror filled the room. A collective gasp thundered through the group, binding them even tighter. The figure's laughter rang like bells of despair, and their world melted around them. The lights flickered once more before dimming to black. In that suffocating darkness, whispers filled their minds, intertwining their fates into an horrific tapestry. As panic began to claw at their hearts, the last words echoed in the void, "Welcome to your reckoning." What awaited them in the deepening shadows? Would they confront the truth they tried to bury, or would they succumb to the terror ready to unleash its fury? The darkness was thick enough to choke on, wrapping around them like tendrils of despair. They shuffled, panic-stricken, heads turning as they tried to see through the inky blackness, but it was beyond futile. There was no escape from the reckoning, no light to guide them to safety. "Get off me!" Someone shouted, the voice slicing through the void, desperate and shrill. The sound ricocheted around the room, swallowed almost instantly by the shadows. Amidst the confusion, a faint humming filled the space, a low vibration that seemed to emanate from the figure hovering above them. The sound wasn't just noise, it was a language of fear, a melody of memories that echoed their past indiscretions. Each person felt their blood run cold as the understanding sunk deeper. There was nowhere to hide. "What do you want from us?" The woman cried again, her voice quaking with desperation. "Please, tell us what we have to do." The figure's presence grew heavier, its shape shifting as it drew closer, an impossibly tall silhouette. "You already know," it hissed, the tones intertwined with the dreadful harmony of the whispers. "You know what you've done, even if you refuse to see it." A jolt ran through the crowd as the figure's head elongated, the hollow eyes catching the dimmest light, boring into each soul one by one. Panic surged like a tidal wave, and the murmurs turned into indecipherable screams. Heartbeats thundered, ragged breaths filled the darkness, and they were paralyzed by fear, unable to find the strength to face their demons. "Stand united, or perish alone." The old man shouted, his voice fighting against the oppressive air. "This is our chance to confront what we've allowed to fester. We can't stay silent." "Silent?" The figure echoed mockingly, its voice dripping with disdain. "You revel in your silence. You cheered while the innocent faded away, your joy blinding you to their suffering. You've chased shadows for far too long." A gust of wind whipped through the bar, and suddenly, ghostly images flickered into existence around them, faces of the missing, twisted with anguish and anger. The memories of laughter haunted them. They were reflections of the lives recklessly disregarded, moved on while they reveled in their fun. "No, this can't be real," someone shouted, stumbling back in disbelief. "That's exactly what we said," the figure retorted, its shadowed mouth curling into a sickening grin. "Time to dance with your past. Will you face the truth or let it consume you?" The whispers intensified, forming words that poured like water through their minds. Each syllable carried the weight of guilt, wrapping tighter with every breath. Some fell to their knees, others grasped at their heads, overwhelmed by the tidal wave of torment. But then a flicker of defiance ignited in the woman's heart. She stood tall, forcing her trembling legs to carry her forward. No more. We won't hide. We'll own what we did. Her voice cut through the darkness, a bright beacon in the chaos. Silence fell abruptly, all eyes turning towards her, and for a moment, hope replaced fear. She could feel the energy shift. I will not let fear dictate my fate. We stand together. The figure paused, as if caught off guard by her resolve. Together? It questioned, a hint of uncertainty creeping into its tone. The shadows do not sway easily. A shudder rippled through the group. With their resolve strengthening, they felt their collective pain and history weave around them. Maybe they could wrestle control from the darkness. But the figure laughed, a sound that vibrated through bone and soul. So be it. The dance will commence. But remember, you choose the steps, and as the shadows spread ominously, the last flickers of light vanished, leaving only an abyss behind. Would they be able to take back their narrative, or would they be forever lost to the dance? What would the next haunting rhythm be? And would they lead through the anguish or fall deeper into the heart of the darkness? The air froze. The words hung like a thick fog, heavy and suffocating. They had made a decision, but did they truly understand what it meant? The shadow figure swayed slightly, its laughter echoing like the clanging of a death bell. Choose your steps, it taunted, dark arms reaching out, trailing in the air like smoke. With a surge of adrenaline, the woman felt her heart pound. We face our past. She repeated, more forcefully this time. A tiny flicker of resolve ignited in others around her. She wasn't alone. The old man stumbled forward, eyes blazing with a fiery determination. Remember them. Remember the laughter. His voice trembled, resonating through the silence that enveloped them. Our past mistakes, whatever they were, won't define us. They were cries for help, drowned out by our indifference. It was a simple truth, but it struck hard. Faces emerged again in the shadows, twisted, hurt, and full of longing. The figures swirled around them, pulling closer, desperate for acknowledgement. They deserve better. One of them cried, voice raw with emotion. They deserved us. Suddenly, the shadows flickered. The surrounding gloom thinned, their forms almost human at times, but twisted in agony the next. They were memories made flesh, souls needing to be freed. As the spirits moved, the humming grew louder, their memories intertwined in a haunting symphony. Painful yet beautiful. Each person's past was now tangible, wrapped around them, a second skin. The figure's grin widened, eyes gleaming with mockery. Now you wish to rekindle lost connections? It bared sharp teeth, the shadows curling and writhing around them like a living thing. You think it will be so easy? To set them free? I won't run from this. The woman shouted, heart racing. Let us face it together. A sync began, not orchestrated but instinctual. They stepped forward as one, hearts in sync with the rhythm of their past, binding it into the present. Bittersweet memories surged, the weight of guilt mixed with the lightness of release. Can you handle the truth? The figure hissed, voice tightly woven with dread. The dance of shadows is not for the faint of heart. With every step, they felt the course of their lives washing over them, a montage of laughter, loss, regret, and resilience. The tones of the past echoed through their bodies, weaving a tapestry of redemption. They started to sway, slowly at first, then with more confidence. Be strong. The old man urged. Remember the light. Remember why we gather. Their steps transformed the darkness, the haunting melody shifted, finally merging. The memories of the lost clawed at their souls, yet they began to rise again. It was a fierce defiance against shame, an unbroken spirit wanting to burn bright, but just as hope surged, the darkness exploded in a whirlwind of chaos. Admit it. The figure shrieked, manic laughter filling the void. You cannot escape your demons. The shadows around them twisted and darkened, thickening until it felt like suffocation. A cry of terror erupted from the group. What if facing their past didn't mean freedom but damnation instead? In the turmoil, the woman felt an icy tendril wrap around her ankle. She stumbled, eyes wide as the shadows pulled, tempted to drag her back into despair. "No!" she shouted, fighting against the pull. "We have power over this. We can change it." Then came a gasp from the back, a cry mingled with the sound of shattering glass. "Wait! What just happened?" someone shrieked, and all eyes turned where the sound had come from. As attention focused there, a ripple of uncertainty spread among the group. Had they truly conjured the strength to defeat the looming darkness, or had they just caught a fleeting glimpse of something worse, what lay in the blackness waiting to emerge? And who would sink beneath the weight of their past as the dance reached its frenzied peak? The cacophony of voices surged, a chaotic symphony of panic and uncertainty. The woman fought against the relentless grasp of the shadows, her breath coming in short, frantic bursts. The sharp sound of glass breaking echoed, piercing through the tension like a knife. In the flickering darkness, a shadowy form began to take shape amidst the throng. Was it just a trick of the mind, or a new nightmare rising from the depths? The crowd held its breath. They could almost feel the weight of something unfurling, something darker than they had ever faced. "What have you done?" a man gasped, taking a step back. His eyes darted around, searching for answers in the faces of those around him. The collective dread thickened like a storm cloud, heavy and electric. "It wasn't me," the woman shouted, her voice cracking. "We have to focus." But as she fought to rally them, a whisper cut through a voice they recognized, hollow and distant. "You would choose to dance with the shadows? You think they can grant you the solace you seek?" The old man, trembling yet fierce, stepped forward, defiance etched on his face. "We know our past. This is not who we are." The shadows writhed at his words, pulsating with raw energy. As the tension spiraled, the piercing laughter of the shadow figure echoed louder, tinged with mania. "You think memory will protect you? It's a trap, a curious snare. Remember, amnesia is a comfort you've always sought. Have you not learned?" The darkness shifted as a flicker of doubt passed through the group. The woman's heartbeat thundered in her ears. "What if he's right?" she whispered, glancing at her friends. "What if we can't fight it?" An eerie silence enveloped them, tension crackling like static electricity. A second voice joined the first, whispering words laden with hatred and shame. "You abandoned them. You left them to drown in their own sorrow. How can you seek redemption?" The shadows began to morph, twisting into images of those they had lost. Faces contorted in pain, mouths gaping wide in silent screams. Guilt gnawed at their insides, a festering wound that refused to heal. "Believe!" the old man bellowed, lifting his arms as if to embrace the torment. "We can set them free." Emboldened by his words, the woman took a step closer to the haunting figures. "We are fighting for them," she cried, trying to expel the darkness with her conviction. "We'll make it right this time." Just then, the glass shard that had shattered flew past them, glinting in the dim light, revealing the shadowed form of a young girl. Her eyes were filled with tears, brimming with a sorrow that felt palpable. "I only wanted to be remembered," she whispered, voice choking with despair. More cries echoed from behind, those voices of the lost intertwining in a sorrowful melody. Each one recalled a moment of laughter, happiness stolen by indifference. The memories flooded in, filling the space with raw emotion, a blend of nostalgia and anguish. "Do you hear them?" the woman cried, her voice piercing through the cacophony. "They want us to remember. To acknowledge them. We can't let them drown." But even as inspiration stirred within her, the shadows surged forward, darkness curling tight around their bodies, squeezing the hope from their hearts. A single thought darted through her mind: maybe this was the moment they faced something worse than their past. With sudden resolve, the old man shouted, "Together!" His voice became a rallying cry, binding them with strength. But as they joined hands, the shadow figure lunged, its monstrous form spiraling wildly. So you wish to summon courage? You wish to confront your darkest fears? The air thickened with tension, their hands trembling as the shadows fought against them, desperate to tear them apart. The woman felt the icy fingers creep up her spine, ready to strip away everything they had fought for. No! She screamed. We won't go back. Just as they thought they had gathered strength, the chaos escalated. One figure, a twisted visage, broke free from the rest and lunged toward the woman. She felt her heart skip a beat. What will it take? To make you understand? It roared, and everything dulled to silence as the darkness closed in, threatening to swallow them whole. Would they find the strength to confront this new horror, or would despair drag them under? In that instant, everything hung in the balance, a fragile thread woven from hope and fear. And beneath the weight of memories, a question lingered: what really lay behind that shadowy veil? The shadows erupted as the twisted figure lunged for her, and time itself seemed to stretch. Panic surged through the woman's veins, electrifying her limbs. With a desperate scream, she yanked her hand away, breaking the circle of unity that had seemed their only lifeline. No! The old man's voice cut through the storm, but she was already stumbling backward, crashing into the other frightened souls. Every face mirrored her horror, eyes wide, mouths agape as the terrifying image loomed into existence before them. The figure, once a mere blend of darkness, now emerged vividly. It had the pallid, distorted face of a loved one long lost, although the eyes gleamed with an unnatural glow. You abandoned me, it hissed, its voice an unsettling mix of familiar concern and unhinged wrath. You were supposed to remember. The woman's heart raced. It was as if every moment of guilt, of regret, coalesced into this visceral horror that grasped at her chest. She felt it growing tighter, knotting around her lungs until each breath felt like a futile effort. No! This isn't real! She screamed, shaking her head violently. Not real? The shadow sneered, morphing into the shape of another lost friend, their expression contorted with the pain of betrayal. You've hidden from the truth for too long. Face it. The others stood paralyzed, swept up in the torrent of awakened memories and the relentless weight of blame. The echoes of laughter turned to sobs, the shadowy faces shifting, relentless in their accusation. Face us! They cried, hands outstretched, fingers curling like claws. A sharp gasp escaped the old man as he steadied himself, the fear rippling through him. We cannot allow this madness. They have come to lead us to the truth. Suddenly, the laugh of the shadow figure erupted once again, a cruel sound that mirrored their grief. And what do you think the truth will give you? You will uncover the very faults that have brought you here. Speak to those you abandoned, but do you wish to hear their final words? The woman's knees buckled as she fought back tears. Would she step into the abyss, or could she stand her ground? Her resolve began to harden. We won't let you control us. She cried, her voice gaining strength as she turned toward the phantoms. You are not our memories. You are our fear. The shadows recoiled for a moment, a flicker of indecision crossing their faces. That open space reminded them of lost connections. The old man seized the moment. Remember the love. Remember the joy. We carry them with us. Please, the woman echoed, stepping forward, trembling but fierce. We remember. And we are sorry. As each person found their voice, they began to recite those names they'd forgotten in the chaos of regret. One by one, they spoke a name, a plea for forgiveness, and with each utterance, the shadows began to writhe and shrink, but just as the shadows faltered, the laughter turned frenetic, a pulsating wave darkness pushed back, merging into a swirling mass of despair. You think mere words can erase the past? They bind you just as much as they free you. The intensity surged again, a thick cloak of despair wrapping around them, their hope flickering like a candle in a storm. Then, out of the swirling mass, a booming voice emerged. You must choose, now. Who will remain shackled by their choices, and who will embrace the truth? The air crackled around them, the weight of the world pressing down, churning thoughts of returning to the shadows or bursting through with newfound freedom. The line between light and darkness blurred. The woman felt that tightness in her chest again. It was not just fear, it was the beginning of something. And she knew, deep down, this would only escalate to a confrontation that would decide everything. Will you fight for freedom, or will you let despair swallow you whole? With that question hanging like an anchor in the storm, they stared into the dark abyss, hearts hammering as the shadows advanced once more, eager to consume them. But could they really confront the truth? Would they find the courage to face it, or was their fate already sealed in shadows? The answer felt just out of reach, teetering on the edge of despair, waiting to plunge them deeper into the night. The shadows lunged, a mass of darkness reaching for their hearts. The air whipped around them like a haunted breeze, chilling and electric. The woman stood tall, shaking off the weight of despair, but the others faltered. Fear twisted their faces, pulling them into the abyss of doubt. We can't lose this, she thought desperately, eyes darting between the spectral figures urging them on. Suddenly, the old man shouted, "Stand together. Remember who you are." His voice cut through the chaos like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. "Who we are," the woman whispered, repeating his words. There was power in that declaration. She grasped the arms of the nearest people. Their hands tightened around each other, a tenuous bridge against the encroaching darkness. "A family," she said, her voice stronger now. "We are more than our mistakes." The shadows seemed momentarily stunned, flickering like flames caught in a gust. Their faces twisted and trembled, reflecting every fear and regret they had confronted. The woman took a step forward, feeling the weight of history pressing against her. "You can't bind us with guilt. We will not drown in the past." At her declaration, the figures shrieked, their chorus of accusation swelling, merging into a monstrous roar that echoed off the walls of the void around them. "You think you can escape? You are forever marked by your choices." But the woman surged forward, summoning every ounce of courage. "No. I choose to remember the love. I choose to fight for our future." The intensity shifted again, the shadows pushed back, morphing into a swirling tempest of sorrow. The faces twisted into more tortured visages, each representing a moment of pain. "You left us behind." A voice of a childhood friend wailed. "You forgot." A wave of emotion crashed over her, sadness laced with guilt, yet beneath it, a spark flickered. "I didn't forget. I was afraid. But I won't be anymore." As she spoke, the air thickened. Each syllable felt like a hammer striking the chains of memory. The others began to echo her sentiment, eyes shining with hope and resilience, voices rising together. "We will not forget. We are here now. We choose us." Instantly, the shadows recoiled, writhing in pain as the warmth of their unity shone through the darkness like a beacon. Fear and rage contorted their features, unable to withstand the brilliance of renewed hope. "What are you?" one shadow hissed, voice shaking with uncertainty. "You're not afraid?" "Not anymore." The woman shouted, her heart racing, drawing strength from the grasp of her companions. "We carry each other's stories and scars. You are not our enemies, but a product of our fears." A sudden shift, shadows shrieked and dissipated, the chorus of accusations merging into a howling storm. The old man's voice rang out, calling above the chaos. "They thrive on our pain, but here and now, we choose to heal. Break their hold." With every word, the shadows shrank, twisting into a haze of memories too painful to bear but unwilling to let them go without a fight. The darkness gathered itself, swirling like a black cyclone, threatening once more to swallow them whole, but just then, a flash of light erupted, infusing them with warmth. The light felt familiar, like the embrace of forgotten laughter, filling the void with shimmering possibilities. The figures writhed, recoiling from the illumination, their anguished faces dissipating like mist. "Get ready," the woman urged, adrenaline surging as she felt the powerful connection forming in the space among them. "This is our moment." With a collective breath, they stepped into the brightness, ready to confront the culminating force that had shackled them for so long. An invisible tether pulled tighter, guiding them towards an uncertain fate. But as they advanced, the laughter of shadows rumbled from behind, more sinister than ever, echoing, "You think you can escape your fate?" The true darkness hasn't revealed itself yet. With uncertainty brewing in her stomach, the woman wondered what lay ahead. What deeper horrors awaited them beyond the flickering light? Would they triumph over despair, or would it consume them fully? The light surged around them, pulling at their souls, binding them in unity. They could feel the warmth painting over their hearts, igniting a fire of hope that they hadn't realized was dimming. The shadows writhed in protest, twisting and screaming, as they charged forward, a force too powerful to contain. "You cannot escape." The figure spat, its voice now bitter, cracking with rage. "You think you can break free from your sins?" The woman took a deep breath, her heart racing, but frustration sparked fires of defiance deep within her. "We are not our sins," she cried, the words bursting forth with an energy that propelled them. "We are more than the laughter shared on the ashes of those we lost. We've learned no more running." The air around them thickened, a wall of dark sorrow threatening to swallow their newfound courage whole. Yet, as they pressed forward, the bonds of their collective memories painful, raw, and unadulterated transformed. Each name they whispered acted like a key unlocking relief. Each moment of regret fused with an understanding, a compassion that flowed through each of them. "Together," echoed the old man's voice, blending seamlessly with the woman's resolve. "We will rise against the binding darkness." Surrounded by their warmth, they pulled each other closer, inching towards the very center of their reckoning. The patterns of light pulsed in response, filling the gaps within them, liberating the shadows from their vengeful hold. The figure swirled, howling, but their combined strength pushed against the darkness like a tidal wave crashing against a fragile dam. "You think your love can triumph?" it screamed through clenched teeth. "It is too late." "No. It's never too late." They shouted together, their voices rising like a chorus of warriors ready for battle. "You cannot define us." As their voices melded, the light brightened, swirling around them like a refuge in a storm. It was no longer a fight against the hauntings of the past, but a celebration of the bonds they had forged in the ashes of regret. With every step forward, the shadows began to shatter. Each memory of pain that solidified against them flickered with the strength of understanding, of acceptance. Ghostly images of those they had lost began to emerge, shimmering with yearning, their eyes no longer furious but filled with clarity. "Remember us," they whispered, their voices no longer accusatory but soft. "We wanted you to feel." The woman felt the weight lift from her chest. "We will remember," she promised, her voice firm. "We have learned to honor your stories, to keep your spirits alive, to never forget again." The shadows screeched one last time, a chaotic blend of despair and fury before cracking apart like thin glass, dispersing into the ether. The figure, once a monstrous silhouette, began to shift, fading, morphing into something less intimidating, perhaps almost human, a reflection of their own fears that they had bravely confronted. Then, suddenly, they were all back in the bar, the light steady and warm, the air thick with hope. The spirits that had haunted them swirled around gently, no longer tormented but grateful. The elderly man smiled a soft, knowing smile as clarity washed over his face. "You have released them," he said softly. "And in turn, released yourselves." The woman looked around, glancing at her companions, their faces illuminated with smiles, warmth. "We faced our truths," she said, feeling a newfound lightness in her spirit. "Let this be a new beginning." And as the crowd began to disperse, exchanging embraced lives with one another, laughter mingled within the swaying shadows, a joyous celebration of life, a fitting tribute to the past. The bartender, a witness to the transformation, glanced around with curiosity. "So, do you all still believe in curses?" he asked, his voice light now, teasing. "No curses," the woman replied, humor dancing in her tone. "Just lessons." One by one, they filed out, a tight-knit group now. And as the night shifted from an eerie darkness to a promising dawn, the once haunted bar breathed a sigh of relief. The shadows that once gripped it were now mere whispers of the past, tales turned into stories of triumph. Do you feel the weight lift too? You need to subscribe now to our channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories loaded with heart and hope. Smash that like button now if you felt that resurgence of strength and light. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, your reactions, and your own stories of overcoming. We want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is crucial. Let us keep this community growing stronger and brighter together.